Welcome back to School Discovery Staff. This presentation will be a basic overview of MTSS, or multi-tiered system of supports. Why MTSS? To ensure that all students receive the appropriate level of support, both academically and behaviorally, within our school. I'm Amy Herrick, and I'm one of the assistant principals, and MTSS is in my portfolio. Please see me if you have any questions about the MTSS process. The multi-tiered system of supports, MTSS, involves an educational process that matches instructional and intervention strategies and supports to student needs in an informed, ongoing approach for planning, implementing, and evaluating the effectiveness of instruction, curricular supports, and interventions. It is important to establish effective systems by making a distinction. Support is designed to provide general assistance, help with homework, further explain a concept, or an opportunity for additional practice. A student working in your room in the morning so that they can just have some extra time would be an example of this. An intervention is designed to improve a specific skill or set of skills. The Fargo Public Schools has created two task forces, an MTSS-A or MTSS Academics Task Force and an MTSS-B or MTSS Behavior Task Force to align the systematic processes in our schools. The MTSS Discovery Leadership Team has a diverse group of individuals who represent all grade levels, all teams, intervention courses, mental health support, off-team teachers, counselors, administration, and special education. You will notice the stars by some of the names. These people serve on the District MTSS-A or MTSS-B Task Force. Our Discovery Leadership Team meets roughly once a month and follows an agenda that includes District MTSS Task Force updates, reviews on any new resources, shares data, engages in student problem solving, and includes a question, discussion, and work time. The members of the leadership team bring this information back to their teams and serve as resources for our staff. MTSS is a component of our continuous school improvement, building operational plan, and Fargo Public Schools strategic plan. As the district and building continue to problem solve the MTSS process, as a building, we are aware of areas that we should focus on each year. This includes using the academic pathways for a systemic approach, as well as taking into account the individual student in a problem-solving approach. The MTSS process also includes behavior and attendance interventions in which systems and problem-solving approaches are being created. We are a large staff and we have a lot of students. Another focus is on creating a common language and common practice. You will see that there is a Discovery Interventions Guide linked to this slide. This breaks down Tier 1 or core curriculum, what every student receives, into 4 areas: literacy, math, behavior, and attendance. It continues to address Tier 2 and Tier 3 in each category. Tier 2 are targeted strategic interventions, and Tier 3 are the most intensive interventions. Each year, the MTSS leadership team takes into account what practices are implemented at the district level and building level. These interventions are not in a specific order except for the attendance process. For literacy, math, and behavior, these are potential interventions to try with our students. If you notice, visit with the student and parent contact are listed at the top of some of the columns. That is purposeful. Students and their parents should be a critical member of the intervention process no matter the tier. Of course, providing a common place to document students in the MTSS process would be the MTSS tool on the hub. There will be training on the MTSS tool for both new and veteran staff very soon. I like to think of the MTSS pyramid or triangle as laying on its side. This helps to envision that the MTSS process is a layered approach. As a student moves up the tiers, they are also still receiving the previous level of intervention. For example, If a student is placed in ILC, Independent Learning Center, which is a Tier 2 intervention class, they should still be receiving differentiation and Tier 1 intervention from their teachers. The colors are also blurred from tier to tier. This means that a child can move up and down the pyramid or triangle relative to the progress of their MTSS goal. Progress monitoring and data collection are imperative as decisions are made for the level of intervention a student receives. If you have a concern about a child in your class, and you have also taken the data into account, you must follow the MTSS process by utilizing Tier 1 interventions, the universal interventions, and documenting it in the MTSS tool as a concern. Please do not go directly to placement of a child in an intervention class without the data to support it and documentation of interventions tried. Only then you may discuss additional testing via an administrator. The administrator will contact the intervention teacher for testing if necessary. If a student pathway is not clear, example, a student does poorly on the map, but is okay on the MI, additional data must be considered. Previous grades, visit with previous teachers, counselor, and administrator to make the decision. Any placement into an intervention class must be approved by an administrator. So as you can see, I've gone into the employee portal, Teaching and Learning, PLC Teaching and Learning, clicked on Documents, and I am just going to pick up the grade 6 reading flowchart. If you notice, it shows the green pathway to denote the benchmark or grade level, students who will receive the high quality curriculum and instruction in the general classroom, the yellow pathway to denote the strategic intervention for students who need additional support to what they're receiving from the general curriculum, and the red pathway to denote the intensive interventions. It takes you through a flow chart to show how the students would qualify for placement in their classes. The literacy interventions that we have at Discovery are Read 180, a reading program designed for students whose reading achievement is below the proficient level. The goal of Read 180 is to address gaps in student skills through the use of computer software, literature, and direct instruction in reading skills. System 44 is a foundational reading program designed for personalized learning progression with explicit instruction that engages students in reading, writing, language, speaking, and listening. All students take the Measures of Academic Progress, MAP assessment, and the North Dakota State Assessment, NDSA, in reading. Any students who score in the novice or partially proficient on the MAP or NDSA are screened with their reading inventory, or RI. Students who score below a 600 on the RI are given the phonics inventory, or PI. We also have the math. I'm just going to pick the grade 8 math flowchart. Where all students take the Measures of Academic Progress, or MAP assessment, and the North Dakota State Assessment, NDSA, in math. And this is the grade 8 math placement flowchart using the 7th grade data. Students who score novice or partially proficient on the MAP and NDSA are screened with the Mathematics Inventory, or MI. Students who score below a 200Q on the MI are then further evaluated for placement through a variety of assessments. At Discovery, we have Math 180, a comprehensive program in which students receive engaging and adaptive software to support their learning and mathematical understandings, along with direct instruction from a highly trained teacher that is designed to build students' confidence and competence in mathematics. So you can see here on the MTSS page in the employee portal under Teaching and Learning that all of these flowcharts are accessible to you. It is important to consider the levels of support required for students. Benchmark or Tier 1 universal interventions or differentiated course students can generally meet standards. They're your average learner. They can adapt and adjust to teacher's style, and the student is enrolled in regular English and math classes. Strategic or targeted group or targeted strategic intervention students have gaps in skills and knowledge. They're 1 to 2 years behind, so the 40th to 20th percentile, as we saw in those flowcharts. Struggles academically, they may appear unmotivated. They can read, but they often have specific skill deficits. As we move up the pyramid, the intensive or individual interventions or intensive intervention students tend to test below the 20th percentile. They may appear frustrated and unmotivated. Their reading skills are limited, more than 2 years below grade level. They typically require a comprehensive and intensive intervention approach, and core content workload is very difficult for them to handle. If you have a concern about a child, and you have also taken the data into account, you must follow the MTSS process by utilizing Tier 1 interventions and documenting it in the MTSS tool. When we consider the Independent Learning Center, or ILC, there is a process to consider a child for placement in this particular intervention class. ILC may be added for students who have had Tier 1 interventions applied, but are still needing additional support. ILC provides 3 main services. It provides the students with a home base. Coming into a larger and more open setting, many students benefit from the small group setting and structure offered by ILC. The ILC teacher works with students throughout the year on learning strategies to develop their abilities. The ILC is a place for students to work on their regular classwork with individualized assistance. Teachers will receive an ILC selection form by grade level to fill out, which includes the student name, who they are referred by, and what Tier 1 interventions were implemented. It also must include the most recent core GPA, additional or previous services or intervention classes, to create a total of 5 points. According to the number of points scored on the selection form, this indicates if the child should be on emergency placement, a 5, 3 points are highly recommended, 2, 1, and 0 points, which means that they are not recommended for ILC. This form is given to the student's counselor and the ILC teacher to review, and then placement is determined. So what are our next steps for the 2017-2018 school year? Administrators will meet with their grade level teams to discuss MTSS. There will be training for all staff on the tool, as it has changed significantly on the hub in the very near future. MTSS leadership team will meet in September to discuss any issues and roll out the plans for the 2017-2018 school year. Remember, any questions about MTSS process, please ask your administrator. Thank you for all you do to build a foundation for success with our students.